I'm Owen Covington, Director of the Elon University News Bureau, here with Jason Husser, Director of the Elon University Poll. Jason's going to talk a little bit about the Democratic primary presidential debates that took place over the last two nights. So Jason, who won?
It's easy to think about these debates in terms of a sports metaphor of who won. And so let's take that ball down the field, talking about who won. If we think about these debates as a game, that would mean you have 20 teams on the field. You've got an unclear set of rules. It changes depending on who you're talking to about how you score points, what it takes to win. And you've got refs that are biased. Many of them are open that they're biased. These folks talking on television about who won, who lost. So if you had a game like that and all the refs got together and said, well, all the teams scored a few points, but none of them got a majority of points, you would say, well, that's not a game I want to play in, and that league would fold pretty quickly. When we think about these debates, and especially early on, in terms of who won or who lost, we miss a real opportunity to learn about the candidates. Rather than thinking about who won the debate, I think we're better off thinking, well, there was a list of candidates. I wasn't sure about a lot of them, but now there's 4 or 5 or 6 that I want to learn more. I'm going to go to their websites. I'm going to learn about what they think in policy details because they didn't have a chance to talk about that in just a couple of minutes. So really, if we think about the debates as a learning process and a way for us to narrow our list of how we want to think about candidates, rather than who won or lost, I think we're a lot better off.
You talk about narrowing the list. Of course, it's a pretty long list to narrow. 20 candidates. They had to split the debates up over 2 nights. Is that going to be a disadvantage for the Democrats heading into the general election?
This is a historically large field. It's in part because the party that's out of power tends to have a lot of people who are just waiting to go. The field is actually much larger than what we're seeing on television. There are far more candidates have declared at least some sort of exploratory organization for president. There is a sitting governor who didn't even get to be on the debate stage the last couple of nights. These big crowded fields are in many ways both a good thing and a bad thing. They're a good thing in the sense that tough primary campaigns generally sharpen candidates and make tougher candidates at the general election. However, there's another side of that, and that side is really twofold. One is that it can lead to really awkward situations. We've seen this in the past years, George H.W. Bush and Ronald Reagan, for instance, in which the nominee then has picked a running mate who is critical of that person on the debate stage. Then they have to awkwardly do this sort of walk back of the criticisms. There's another potential risk, which I think is a bigger risk of so many folks running right now, which is in order to capture enough primary voters in the primary, these candidates have to move to the extremes. So they're trying to divvy out a more left-leaning electorate in the primary than they'd get in the general election, which then makes them have this difficult task of trying to pivot back to the center in a general election campaign.
Gotcha. Jason, thanks so much for those insights. Jason will continue to provide insights heading into election 2020. And of course, the Elon poll will be tracking a lot of what's going on in the election.